Have you ever met someone, talked with them, and then suddenly felt heavier inside? They do not yell. They do not do anything too obvious. But every time they show up, you feel yourself thinking more, being more careful, or losing the lightness in your own life. Sometimes, what makes you tired is not one major event. It is the people you allow to come too close to your private life. Many people think protecting their peace means cutting everyone off, becoming cold, or staying away from other people. But protecting your own peace does not mean living with a closed heart. It means you begin to know who makes you feel calmer, who makes you feel more tense and exhausted, who respects your boundaries, and who always makes you feel as if you have to hold everything together just to keep the peace. A person may not be completely bad, but the way they speak, the way they bring negativity into your life, or the way they dismiss your limits can still make your life heavier, little by little. And if you do not notice it early, you may become used to feeling tired and start thinking that it is normal. In this video, we are going to look at 3 types of people you should keep some distance from if you want to protect your peace. People who bring negativity into every conversation, people who do not respect your small boundaries, and people who make you feel as if you always have to try hard just to keep things peaceful. If you found this content helpful, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. This is a place where we learn together how to live with more calm, think more positively, and be kinder to ourselves each day. And the first type of person you need to recognize is the person who always brings negativity into every conversation. The first type of person you should pay attention to is the person who always brings negativity into every conversation. They may not do anything too extreme. They simply talk about how this person was wrong, how that person was bad, how someone deserves blame, or how someone is not good enough. At first, you may think it is just a normal conversation or a little sharing, but if every time you meet them, the conversation always revolves around judgment, criticism, suspicion, and frustration, then little by little, the atmosphere around you begins to feel heavier. The dangerous thing about negativity is that it does not always arrive in an obvious way. It comes slowly, through a few sentences, a few comments, a few stories that may seem harmless. But after hearing too much, you begin to look at life with more tired eyes. You become more likely to doubt other people. You become more easily pulled into things that have nothing to do with you. And sometimes, you carry that feeling home with you, even though the story never belonged to you in the first place. For example, someone comes to you only to talk about who is living wrongly, who is fake, and who cannot be trusted. You sit there and listen because you want to be polite, because you do not want to upset them. But after that conversation, your mind is full of other people's stories. You do not feel lighter. You do not feel more understood. You only feel as if you have taken on another piece of tiredness that you did not need. Protecting your peace in this situation does not mean you have to hate them or judge them back. You only need to become more aware of what you allow into your mind each day. Not every story needs to be heard until the end. Not every criticism needs your participation. And not every conversation deserves to take away your peace. You can gently change the subject. You can say that you do not want to go too deeply into someone else's life. You can leave the conversation if it keeps making your heart feel heavier. That is not being cold. It is a way of keeping your mind from being filled with things that do not help you live better. When you stop allowing negativity to enter too deeply into your life, your mind begins to feel lighter. You no longer have to carry stories, judgments, and frustrations that do not belong to you. And after the person who always brings negativity, there is another type of person who can quietly take away your peace. The person who does not respect your small boundaries. The second type of person you should pay attention to is the person who does not respect your small boundaries. Boundaries are not always about big things. They are not only important decisions or very clear refusals. Many times, boundaries begin with very small things in everyday life. You say you are tired today, but they still keep pulling you into a long conversation. You say you are not comfortable with a joke, but they repeat it again. You need time alone, but they treat that as if you are being selfish or cold. At first, these things may look very small, so small that you tell yourself, maybe I am just overthinking. But if someone keeps crossing your small limits again and again, then over time, you will begin to feel less comfortable around them. You have to weigh every word. You have to explain more and more. You have to convince yourself that your discomfort does not matter. And that is when your peace begins to be affected. A person who respects you will not need you to become angry before they step back. They will not need you to stay silent for a very long time, disappear, or become exhausted before they understand that you also need rest. Someone who truly cares will notice the small things. Are you tired today? Do you still want to continue talking? Do you need some space for yourself? Respect is not only in words or big actions, it is in the way someone treats your small limits every day. Protecting your peace here does not mean building a wall so no one can come close. It simply means learning to speak more clearly about what you need. If you are tired, you can say, I do not have enough energy to talk for long today. If a joke makes you uncomfortable, you can say, I am not comfortable with that kind of comment. If you need time alone, you can say that without apologizing too much. Some people may not be happy when you begin to have boundaries, but that does not mean you are wrong. Many times, they are simply used to the version of you who always gives in, always listens, and always lets things go. When you begin to speak more clearly about what you need, people who respect you will learn to adjust, but people who only want you to do things their way will feel uncomfortable. You do not need to argue to prove that your boundaries are right. You only need to live consistently with them. Speak clearly, speak gently, and then follow through with what you said. If you need rest, truly rest. If you do not want to hear another story that makes your heart heavy, stop there. If someone keeps dismissing your feelings, give yourself permission to keep some distance. When you know how to protect your small boundaries, you are protecting your peace before it becomes too deeply hurt. Because often what makes us tired does not come from one very big event. It comes from all the times we kept ignoring our own feelings. And after the person who does not respect your boundaries, there is another type of person who can easily take away your peace. The person who makes you feel as if you always have to try hard just to keep the peace. The third type of person you should pay attention to is the person who makes you feel as if you always have to try hard just to keep the peace. This is not necessarily someone who yells or clearly creates problems. Sometimes it is simply someone you cannot truly feel comfortable around. You have to think carefully before saying even one sentence. You want to give feedback, but you are afraid they will be upset. You want to be honest about how you feel, but you are afraid of how they will react. And in the end, you choose silence, not because your heart is peaceful, but because you are too tired to keep arguing or explaining more. There are relationships where you always have to guess the other person's mood. If they are happy today, everything feels lighter. If they are upset today, the whole atmosphere becomes heavy. You begin to learn how to read their face, choose your words, avoid certain things, and give in, just so things do not become worse. At first, you may think you are keeping the peace, but if you are always the only one trying to keep everything calm, then that is no longer peace. That is exhaustion, covered by silence. A peaceful space is not a place where people never disagree. Family, friends, and any relationship will have moments where people see things differently. The difference is in how people face each other. With a mature person, you can say what you think without being attacked. You can give feedback without being made to feel guilty. You can stay quiet and rest without being called cold. But with someone who always makes you try too hard, you often cannot be yourself in a light and natural way. Protecting your peace in this situation begins with noticing how you feel after being around them. After talking with them, do you feel lighter or heavier? Do you feel heard, or do you feel as if you had to give in one more time? Can you speak honestly, or do you always have to choose the safest sentence? These questions are not meant to accuse anyone. They simply help you understand more clearly what is happening inside your own heart. You do not need to immediately walk away from someone just because they make you tired, but you do need to be honest with yourself. If a relationship always makes you shrink your emotions, hide your thoughts, and try too hard just to avoid tension, then you can slowly keep some distance. Meet them a little less. Speak a little less. Stop taking all the responsibility for keeping the peace onto yourself. And most importantly, stop treating your tiredness as something small. Some people only truly see your limits when you stop trying to make everything comfortable for them. That does not mean you are becoming a bad person. It simply means you are learning not to sacrifice your peace just to keep things looking calm on the outside. Because a life that looks peaceful but keeps you tense inside is not real peace. When you no longer force yourself to keep the peace at any cost, you create more space to breathe, to live more honestly, and to stay close to people who make you feel safer. You begin to understand that protecting your peace does not mean pushing everyone away. It means learning not to let the things that make you tired and tense enter too deeply into your life. And in the end, your peace also needs to be protected with awareness, gentleness, and respect for yourself. In the end, protecting your peace does not mean you have to look at others with suspicion. And it does not mean that if someone makes you tired once, you must immediately walk away from them. Life is not that simple. Everyone has moments of negativity. Everyone has moments when they are careless. Everyone has moments when they carry things inside their heart that have not yet been resolved. But what matters is that you recognize what keeps repeating too often, and what is making your life heavier day by day. If someone always brings negative stories to you, you have the right not to let yourself be pulled into all of those stories. If someone does not respect your small boundaries, you have the right to speak more clearly about what you need. If someone always makes you try too hard just to keep the peace, you have the right to keep some distance and ask yourself whether that relationship is truly healthy for you. Your peace does not appear on its own. It is protected through very small choices each day. Choosing not to join a conversation that makes your heart heavy. Choosing to speak clearly when you need rest. Choosing not to take all the responsibility for someone else's emotions. Choosing to stay close to people who allow you to be yourself in a gentler way. You do not need to hate anyone to protect your peace. You only need to be clear enough to know who should be close, who should stay at a distance, and who should not enter too deeply into your private life. Some people bring lightness. Some people make you feel more tense. And maturity is when you begin to understand the difference without needing to become cold. If you found this video helpful, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. This is a place where we learn together how to live with more calm, think more positively, and be kinder to ourselves each day. Before you leave, I want to ask you something. Which type of person usually takes away your peace the most? The negative person? The person who does not respect your boundaries? Or the person who makes you feel as if you always have to try hard just to keep the peace? Leave your thoughts below. I truly want to hear your perspective. See you in the next video.